some type of motivation.
Welcome to another episode of I Am the Change podcast, brought to you by Dreams to Reality Incorporated, a nonprofit organization geared toward inspiring, uplifting, and empowering communities all over the world. I am your host, Mychal Davis, alongside Mr. Jason Redmond.
Hey, man, how you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. I'm excited about this. How you doing, man?
Man, look, hey, you excited? I'm excited, man. I got a chance. This is the first time in all my since like, man, this is forever. Like, I've never had this experience before. I had a whole weekend to myself, man, and I had like nobody here, just living the bachelor life.
Okay.
Unattached, no kids, no wife, no nothing, man. I really enjoyed it, man. It's the first time in my whole life I've ever been home alone by myself. So yeah, man, it was a good weekend. How about yours?
It was good, man. You know, a little busy, you know what I'm saying? But it was good. It was good. I can't complain, man. I'm blessed. Man, I'm alive.
Hey, look, funny you say you're blessed, man, because the guy that's below us right here, man, it's my dude, man. So like every episode we bring somebody on, I always say it's my guy. But this guy right here, like man, the whole story of him is so unique. I tell folks all the time, I never knew anybody personally that was like a minister or that was a pastor, never. But when I finally, I always thought like pastors were always older, set in their ways, married, who knows how many kids. And I never met one that was like young, dresses, hip hop, come out with the Coogee sweater on with the Stacey Adams and with the fly suits and stuff. I mean, you talking about the pinstripe with the solid, man, just fly with it. And so when I met Greg Hatcher, man, I was like, oh, okay, all right, this guy's a little different. He was a young minister at our church, but man, it was just something about him, man, because you sometimes you see people in the church, man, they don't want to give back, they don't want to do anything to help people. Like you would see Greg Hatcher at graduations, cookouts, birthday celebrations. You see Greg Hatcher at, youth events. Somebody could have a football game. Somebody could have a baseball game, basketball game. You would see Greg Hatcher giving his time on Saturdays, Friday nights, some Saturdays. He would be out there coaching rec league basketball. You would catch that, like he wouldn't, he wouldn't even have like catch. He would not have to give his time to spend time with, but he would make a difference. And young men 13 to 15 years old, man, I was like, man, this guy's a little different. But then he's a minister, but then you hear him talk, like he'd have the street lingo, he'd have that hip hop lingo, he'd have that swag, you know what I'm saying? He could talk and but at the same time, he could talk that Bible too. Yeah, hey man, but you gotta watch, man. You gotta watch him. You gotta look at his movements. You gotta look at how he makes his moves, because like everything that he does, you might think it's worldly, but when you talk to him, it's a spirituality behind it. Like it's a God infusion in everything that he does in his life. But man, look, I could talk the story all day. Y'all didn't come here to hear me talk. I'm gonna hey. Greg, go ahead and tell him the story, man. I'm ready to hear it again, man.
I am too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm gonna tell you, man, being in ministry and being a pastor was so far from my mind when I was young. I went to Southern Durham High School, in Durham, North Carolina, and I tell anybody any day that when I was in high school, I was playing ball and chasing girls. That was my MO all day, every day. I was playing ball and chasing girls. But I always knew that there was something on the inside of me that I was ignoring. I would sometimes be in Bible study at First Calvary, and some things just came natural to me. I was able to understand certain things about the Bible. I never knew why, but I was able to sometimes elaborate and help my peers. Unbeknown to me, as an adult, I would be a pastor, but I had no desire. None to be a pastor. Even when I knew I had a calling, I did not want to do it. I did not, because you think of pastors as have to be a certain way, look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way. That just was not me. I got 2 earrings, as you can see, that I don't take out. You know, I'm gonna dress how I dress. My suits are not just black and blue. Black and blue, you know.
Right.
My thing is, I just realized that God needs people who are genuine and original, because this generation today, you know, you have to not blend in, but you have to know how to relate and come down to their level sometime to get a point across. You know, it's not that I want to act worldly or indulge in worldly things, but you have to be able to be in the mix without being influenced. Like the Bible says, don't be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the knowing your mind. And my thing is, it's a fine line sometimes between being comfortable and conforming. And we have to sometimes, as men and women of God, walk that fine line, because you cannot expect to just preach and teach to people who agree with you. You know, true evangelism is when you can talk to people who don't believe what you believe, and you can persuade them to give God a try. And that's just been my whole goal in ministry, is to be able to. I started off in youth ministry, went to singles ministry, then young adult ministry, and now I'm a head pastor at a church. But I had no desire to do it. But it was in those experiences of youth ministry, singles ministry, young adult ministry that prepared me for what I am now. Because when you're the head man or the head woman in charge, you really get to see what a pastor has to go through every day. It is not just the preaching. That's the easy part. I can write a sermon easy. The hard part is the administration. It is the managing personalities. It's the putting out fires when things happen. It like is the dealing with petty church people. So it's
not petty.
When Jesus turned the tables over because he got angry.
Right.
He saw the inside of the church. They were doing things like they had these pigeon merchants where they were selling basically birds to sacrifice, but they were targeting poor people. You know, they had these money exchanges where they were basically manipulating people's money and trying to exchange the currency. Well, they already couldn't afford their own personal bills. Now you're creating bills inside the church. That pissed Jesus off. And he turned the tables over. Well, as a pastor, you have to deal with things like that and be angry, but not sin, as the Bible says. But it's hard sometimes. I do all the time. I just turned 40 a few days ago.
Yeah, was it May 6th?
May 6th.
Yeah, man.
Happy belated birthday, man.
My 40 comes out.
Your 40 comes out.
Yeah, man.
Hey, man, look, So look, man, let me ask you a question, not to cut you off.
No, you good.
Hey, look, so I've heard pastors say before, being young, black, and back. I've been young, black, and Baptist all my life. So I grew up in the church. I've gone to church. You know, my parents went. My grandparents went to church religiously. So, but when we grew up, man, we went. You know, we went more than Mother's Day, Easter, and Christmas, like normal. But we would go every Sunday. But my question for you though is, how did you relate going to church on Sundays? Because I know your parents went to church. Like your parents went to church.
Yes.
Like y'all went to Bible study. Y'all went to church. I know you sang in the choir. So I look at church children today, man. They always trying to fit in and not be labeled as a church kid. They do stuff that gets them in some trouble. Like, how did you separate yourself from being that child and you know and at the same time standing out, like just being who you were, like walking that line?
I was raised to have a conscience, and I would never sit here and try to act like I always made the right choice or I was the model child. I was not. I was that child I knew the right time to get to the party, but I also knew when to leave to get home in time enough to be in church the next morning. That's who I was, you know. And my thing is, I was never somebody who did not know right from wrong. But as the great hip hop prophets, Biggie Smalls said, I could be as good as the best of them. but it's bad as the worst. But don't test me.
Right.
Even the Apostle Paul said, when I would do good, evil is always there.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing was, I understood whatever place I was in. I knew that if I made a choice to do what I knew wasn't right, I knew what I was doing. When I did right, I knew what I was doing. I was always conscious of my environment, my actions, my behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And as a teenager, there were things that I knew I'm going to do that. It's wrong, but I'm going to do that.
Right.
I probably shouldn't talk to her, but I am.
But I'm going. Yeah.
And that's just where I was. And I understood that I have an accountability to God, to my parents. I understood that. But I'll tell you this, personal story. Prom night, senior year, I knew I wasn't coming home. But I also knew it was wrong.
Very much so.
My point is, it wasn't a situation in which, I didn't know any better. I knew better.
Yeah.
But I was willing to take the consequence. And my thing is, again, I knew God, I was saved, but I was young. And I had not yet come to a point to where I would say, you know what, I'm not going to compromise. It's a thing called spiritual maturity.
Right.
You can be saved, but not delivered. You know what I'm saying? Like salvation is being free from the penalty of sin, but liberation is being set free from the power of sin over you. Where as a teenager, and even as a 21, 22-year-old, there were things that I was not liberated from. Now I'm saved from the penalty of my sins. Right. We don't do enough in the church talking about, well, what do you do after you get saved? That ain't all there is to it. That's stronghold. That things that still have a grip on you. If you like girls pre-Jesus, guess what?
You gonna like them after. Yeah.
Hey. Absolutely.
Amen. They don't look no different.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have to look better.
So let me ask you something. You say when you were younger, you didn't see yourself going down this path, like at all. You know what I'm saying? But what was that defining moment that made you start going towards that direction?
I have always been somebody who greatly respected elders, and when I was about 19, I kept getting pulled to the side by elders that I did not know. I was living in Greensboro at the time at A&T, and I kept getting, I would go to churches visiting. These people don't even know me. Oh, young man, let me talk to you. It's always the same message. You're going to be somebody's pastor one day. You're going to be a preacher. You're going to be a ministry. I did not want to do it. And I would almost get angry. Like, I do not want to do that. I don't. I saw all my fun running out the window. I did. I had no problem being saved. I had no problem living for God, but I did not want to be the head person in charge. I did not. But after seemingly getting that message all the time, I finally had to submit and realize this is God talking to me through people. Like Saul was on his horse on the Damascus road, got knocked down. Well, God had to knock me down a little bit. Had me realize that, you know what? It ain't about what you want. I need this from you because the world needs this from you. There are people who I want to bless through you. And I need you to humble yourself. We talk about let this mind be in you, also in Christ Jesus. But prior to that, it talks about the character of Jesus and how he had to humble himself to come out of heaven and put on human flesh. And that's what I had to do, was humble myself and realize, you know what? God is trying to do something through me. And by my not wanting to submit in this manner to a higher authority and do what I don't want to do, I could be potentially hindering somebody else's blessing. I could be hindering somebody else's life because I'm not in the right position and I'm not submitting to God totally and allowing God to not just be my savior, but my Lord.
So question, You said earlier, you were young, you were a teenager. You didn't come home at the prom. You knew right from wrong. So tell me, man, how did you tell me your spiritual maturity walk. Like, when did you get to that point where you was like, you know what, I'm good. I know this is wrong. However, I'm gonna go this path of least resistance. I'm gonna go this path. This path of resistance where I know this is the right way to go. I really want to go that way, and I know it's gonna be so much fun, but I've got work to do. I've got to be that standout. I've got to sacrifice this fun, but I'm gonna go over here and change somebody's life. When did you get that moment? Like, when was that for you?
After I finally submitted, to the call of God in my life, my struggle was not over, honestly, because I still struggled with, now, am I good enough for this office? I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know what I have the capacity to do. I know what's inside of me. I know what I've already done. I know what I want to do now.
Right.
In addition to, I have my own personal things that I saw myself doing that were not in ministry. Okay. I saw myself being a lawyer. But about the age 25 was really when I was like, you know what? I really, really need to get truly serious about, I'm never going to be perfect, no, right. But right. I want to strive each and every day to make sure that God is pleased with the life that I'm living. Mm-hmm. You know, I had this call in my life. I preached my initial sermon, and I'm an example to other people. I'm in leadership positions now, and I realized, like, you know what, I can't afford for somebody's life to be influenced in a negative way based upon them seeing me do something that I should not do. It matters to me, my reputation. It does. It matters to me. Yeah. I would never say, oh, it don't matter what folks say. It does matter. Yeah. Because if consistently it's said that you are suspect, that's a problem, especially if you're in ministry, male or female. And my thing was, it wasn't about trying to be a certain way in somebody's eyes. My thing was, I'm accountable to God, and I have a higher accountability now. And I just want God to every day say, well done. Well done. I know you made a couple of mistakes, but well done. You on the right path. So that's what it was for me.
Gotcha. So, question. I know the answer to this question, man. But growing up, man, like, so who were some of your superheroes? Who were some of your role models, male, female, whomever? I know the answer to this question, but I just want to ask the question so the viewers can get the answer.
I'm gonna tell you, man. My dad is one of my heroes because my dad is he's just super cool. You know what I'm saying? One of the reasons I have so much respect for him, when I was a teenager, you might have to tell now, but my father could play some basketball. You hear me? Yeah. And I had a court in the backyard. It was all dirt, right? And my father, like back in the day, we played 21. Well, it's like 15 of y'all. You play like, what was it, 4 for 11 and 11 for 21. Yeah. It goes down to king of the court. My father won every time. There were some serious ball players out here. Yeah. I'm down to the last 5. I get knocked out. My father's still in. Then it go down to him a lot of times, and a real basketball player from the school, and he beat me. He about 40 years old, but give them work. You know what I'm saying?
Wow,
that's what's up.
It was bigger than him playing ball. My thing was, man, I'm seeing you not as my dad, as my friend. You know what I'm saying? Because we bonded. My friends had a great admiration for him as a man, because some of them didn't have fathers in their life. They seeing my dad down here just, being a regular dude, playing ball, talking to him. When it's over, he giving them words of encouragement. And of course, when a bunch of us get together, it's gonna be a fight or two. Breaking it up, getting in between them. getting in their face. But to this day, they respect him. My father is the hardest working man that I know. He was not a corporate America person.
Mm-hmm.
He was a blue collar, hard working man. He got up every day to go to work. Mm-hmm. The only day that he missed work, his back went out, and he missed 4 days. I've never seen him miss a day of work besides that. Mm. And that's what I respect the most about him, is that he taught me the value of hard work. He said, it doesn't matter what you do. He said, whether you are a garbage man or the CEO, get up every day, go to work. You got a family, support your family. Do whatever you have to do to support your family. You know, and that's why I have such respect for him. But I'm gonna tell you some other men, you know, and Jason knows this guy, but you know, Deacon Bobby Martin.
Yeah.
He taught me how to tie a tie.
Get out of here.
He did, and he probably forgot this. I was at church, and what happened is my father worked a lot, and if he would like miss something or wasn't there yet, my father would pre-tie his ties. I would wear his ties. When the tie came loose, Deacon Martin saw me in the bathroom and was like, "Oh, you gonna learn today?" Taught me to tie a tie. Well, that meant a lot to me because he didn't have to stop.
Yeah,
it mattered to him not just that I look nice, but that I knew how to tie a tie. Why is that important? Because you're gonna need to tie a tie to get a job.
You're gonna need a job interview, yeah.
So that meant a lot to me, you know. And it's a whole lot of gentlemen out of First Cavalry. Man, I mean, you know, me and Jason aren't like this far apart, but I respect him. Great, you know, because he mentioned me coaching with basketball. Well, you know, that time, well, I get a little hot-headed sometimes, you know, and Jason,
couple of times
come behind me. We're like, come on, Hatch. but I'm the pastor, but he calling me now.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times it'd be something that upset me about people mistreating my boys. You know what I'm saying? Like don't mess with my players. No. Because I'm daddy for these amount of hours. And if you mess with them, I'm gonna be pissed off.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I talk forever, but
absolutely. So in the beginning, Jason talked about the ideal image of a pastor, you know, wife, kids, and all that. But we got you here, you know, saying young fly guy. I'm sure ain't got no problems in the ladies' department. Is it a choice not to have kids right now, or
Well, it's definitely a choice not to have kids right now. But in terms of a relationship, you know, would I like to be married like today? Absolutely. You know, I've had relationships, you know, some good, some not so great, but I still have the utmost respect for all of the ladies. You know what I'm saying? I would never badmouth anybody. I would like to be married today, but that's just wasn't what God had for me at this time, which is okay. I'm not depressed about it. I'm not feeling defeated about it. My thing is, it just is what it is. You know, do I go out sometimes? Absolutely. You know, I know we've been on the quarantine, but you know, on the norm, I enjoy things like, you know, going to a jazz club, hearing some live music. You know, I live in Durham, but I go to Raleigh all the time. There's a spot called Sea Grace, which is right across the street from Sullivan's Steakhouse. They have wonderful live music there, jazz. I love to go hear that. I love to hear R&B bands. You know, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 81, so naturally, I cannot be born in 1981 and not like hip hop. That just ain't gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen.
I love Nas. I love, you know, Jay-Z. I love all these artists. And I was a big Bad Boy fan. I was big.
You was a Bad Boy fan?
And it wasn't even because of the hip hop, Jason.
Oh my goodness.
I was in love with Faith Evans.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Because when I heard soon as I get home.
Oh, that was a classic, Doc. Yeah, that was a classic. Yeah. That's a banger. That is
I
a
was
banger.
in love.
Yeah.
And then Faith had the kind of music like you could bump it in your car and not feel bad because it's like, but that beat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was bumping Faith, I was bumping Soul for Real, I was bumping Craig Mack, Carl Thomas, I was bumping it, Biggie.
Man.
Those were some of my musical influence. But on the flip side, I love gospel too. I've always been a big Kirk Franklin fan. I've always been a big gospel hip hop fan as well. Canton Jones, love him. And I love all types of music. I even love, don't tell nobody, but I even like some country music. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like Rascal Flatts. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I like some Rascal Flatts too, bro. I like some Rascal Flatts too.
I gotta pull this up on YouTube.
It's good.
I gotta pull this up on YouTube. I gotta hear that one.
Yeah, man. I
gotta some Rascal.
Kenny Chesney. I mean, I might lose some of my street credit.
Yeah, it's all right, man.
Nah, it's all good, man. I like a little Darius Rucker. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
So because you're not the typical image of the regular pastor, have you ever been faced with that? Like somebody saying, hey, like somebody kind of throwing shade on you or hating on you because you're not that typical image of a pastor? And how did you respond to that?
Yeah, even, before I even became a pastor, when I was just, doing ministry work and working as, maybe a pastor of a demographic, I have faced things such as, pull those earrings out. That's not becoming of a pastor, or that's not Christian, like that's not holy. And see, my thing is always this. I respect anybody and what you're saying and your position. But my thing is this. Don't bring the Bible into this unless you are certain that you are right. Don't tell me that it's not biblical to wear earrings. That's not true. Because they always reference where, talked about, marking up your body and piercing this and the third. But the context of that is that there were individuals who were worshiping a god called Baal. And they were doing that in worship to Baal. That's a different connotation than what I'm doing. So you can't tell me that it's wrong for me, but not wrong for a woman. What's the difference? That's still low. So at the end of the day, don't give me a line to suit what you're saying. Because I'm gonna always go to what you reference. And my thing is, it's not just the text. What's the context? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You cannot just read a blatant verse in the Bible and say, I know what it means. You might not, unless you do the history behind that to figure out, first of all, who wrote that? What were they trying to say? And who were they talking to? What's the context? You know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things even in the Bible that you have to be careful that it's not a command, it's an opinion. Like Paul says, I wish that all men could be like me. He's saying he wishes that. Right. God don't wish that. Paul was single his whole life. So what he was saying was to avoid you guys being distracted and by the ways of the world or not having all day to devote to God, if you have a spouse, I wish you could all be like me and devote full time to God. This is opinion. Okay. Right. It wasn't meant for everybody to be that way. But if people don't do the study, the Bible says to study. You know what I'm saying? And if we don't study to know these things, then we'll find ourselves relying on what the preachers say. Now, I'll tell you, don't just listen to what I say. Research. See if it makes sense. See if it line up. I say that because there are a lot of things that we quote inside the church that are not scripture. You can turn that Bible from Genesis to Revelation and will never see that a family that prays together stays together. That's not a Bible verse. But we quote that as truth.
Right.
If that's the truth, then why they divorced? They believe in God. They pray together. Now, I'm not saying to not pray together. I'm saying
right.
Don't say the Bible said. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. See, I remember being in church one time and somebody was getting on me for something. I think I might have said something arrogant, and somebody took offense to what I said. And a Hatcher came behind me and said, "Hey man, don't let that person diminish your flame. You're supposed to think highly of yourself. I understand where that Bible verse comes from. However," and he went on, I was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah. So, hey man, yeah, hey. But one thing I do know about Hatcher, man, Pastor Hatcher, man, is he's not going to back down from a fight. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Like it can be totally against what everybody else is thinking. But if he's convicted, hey man, you might as well go and move on to something else, doc, because it's not changed. You're not gonna change that man's mind. But he's willing to stand by himself on a position and say that's not right. How did you get to that level? They get to that level of comfortability? Because some people would cave with and go with the masses. How did you get to the point where you're willing to stand by yourself on a point like that?
My mother always told me that if you believe what you're saying and you can prove it, don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong. And my thing is, there is a difference between an opinion and a perspective. You know, there are some things where if you give me your opinion, we all have that. Right. It's what I think. But my perspective is based upon some facts that I can give to you and say, my position is based upon these facts here. Okay. And this supports what I'm saying, you know. But there are also situations where I've realized that I have a perspective, you have a perspective, and neither one of us may be wrong, because 6 looks like 9, depending on where you're standing from. So my thing is, it's a matter of, again, maybe you're from a different culture, maybe you're from a different place, and it's not that we have a total different end game, but how we approach this thing is different, and it makes you and I feel like, well, you're wrong, but upon further inspection, oh, you have the same goal as me, but you just went down 85. I went down 15,501. You know what I'm saying?
We still getting to the same place.
We're gonna get to the same place, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the same place. I got you. So, not to hog the interview, but what's the, like, I know for me, a Christian looks like whatever God puts on your heart. I mean, I'm big on, I don't like ties, but you know, I'll wear one if I have to. I don't like them. But what does a Christian look like to you?
To me, a Christian, male or female, is who they are. You know, they all of us have hang-ups, all of us have strongholds, all of us sin sometimes. So it's not about us always having perfect behavior. You'll never be perfect, but be accountable. So a Christian is someone who is accountable. You know, even the Bible says, "That's not yet appear where we shall be." But when Christ returns, we'll see him as he is, and then be just like him. So my thing is, the journey is bigger than the destination. And it's along this journey that I'm evolving. We are evolving into the person that God has for us to be. And I always say that all of us, male and female, it's a person you used to be, a person you are, and a person God is calling you to be. And most of the time, you're in the person that you are right now. And the person you used to be is calling you back forward because that's familiar to you. That's what you want to do. That comes easy to you. But the person that God is calling you to be, you're striving to be that. But in this moment, you are aware of your flaws, your failures, your shortcomings. As a man, I'm going to say this to men. Men tend to run away from things that they fail at. And it is so easy for us to get stuck in our failure that we end up running away from things like fatherhood, things like relationships, things like, you know, those interpersonal things that cause us to be vulnerable. Right. We've been broken in that vulnerable place. We are not trying to go back there. But a Christian man, Christian woman has to understand that it is in those moments of being broken that, like, the olive cannot produce the oil till it's broken or crushed. And sometimes it's not until you're crushed or broken that God can get out of you what you didn't know was there. And sometimes what comes out of you in the midst of being broken is something that's meant to bless somebody else. Like I preach some of my best sermons when I've been hurting. You know, when I was like a wounded healer. Like I needed somebody to be here for me. So I ended up giving out of myself what I needed. Although I felt empty afterwards, God had a way of refueling me. But I could not be afraid to preach out of that vulnerable place, or to even have a personal conversation with another man or woman out of a vulnerable place. I could not be afraid that I don't want to look weak, or I don't want to come across soft. Well, it ain't about that. It's really about you just being self-aware and honest and stating your truth, which your truth should always be in line with the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So my thing was just that I never allowed being broken in certain areas at times in my life to cause me to think less of who I was. I'm a human being. I'm a man first and a pastor second. And, you know, I'll never lose sight of that. That's why I don't worry about trying to be a perfect Christian. I'm accountable, and I know that all have sinned and come short. But when I sin, he's faithful and just to forgive me. And it's never too late to be forgiven. Like the thief on the cross we think it was too late. His last hours, he said, Lord, remember me. And Jesus said, you know, today I'll see you in paradise. So it's not about behavior don't save you. Belief does.
I tell you, man.
Go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead. I got one for him, but I'm gonna let you. I don't want to hog the time up because I'll be at this point hogging it up. Go ahead, Mike.
Nah, because I recently experienced something. Somebody called me lukewarm. A lukewarm Christian. I know you. I imagine you've heard the term in the verse behind it. And you know what I'm saying? I didn't really respond to it because like I am in a point where I'm transitioning and giving my life back to God and stuff like that. And I've been on this path for a while, but I still, you know, like I do music, hip hop music. I got friends that do music. So I still like, you know what I'm saying? I might share their videos or, you know what I'm saying, like their videos and stuff like that. So this person was saying that because I'm still entertaining certain things, like I'm lukewarm, you know what I'm saying? But like, so I just want to get your take on that, you know what I'm saying? Because I mean, I don't feel like I am, but it makes me question, like, because I've also been questioning myself, the direction I want to go with my music, because I know I can't entertain certain things anymore. But it's like, am I being lukewarm by still kind of like, you know what I'm saying, supporting my friends in certain things, or are they being a little harsh on the judgment?
They're definitely being harsh. You know, that's it's in Revelations 3 it talks about, because you're neither hot or cold, you're lukewarm, so I spit you out of my mouth. You know, I preached a sermon one time that, you know, don't be the Christian that makes God sick. Well, my thing is this.
All right.
First of all, that's a very arrogant statement to tell you that you're lukewarm and to judge your life. Like, my thing is, we cannot judge people's lives by the measuring stick of somebody else's life. There are people who see my life and think that some of the things I do, I shouldn't do. But you don't have the same calling I have. You're not called to the same people I'm called to. You're not called to serve the same people. You speaking to folks who 80 years old. I'm reaching those who are 20 and 30, and they're teens sometimes. But again, context is everything. They were speaking to a specific church at this time about them not fulfilling what the church was designed to do. When we take these things and take them out of context like we do, and we begin to judge people's behavior, judge their character, and characterize folks by what condition that we think that they are in, and we place ourselves in the seat of God. And my thing is, just because you may support people who may be doing music that is not quote unquote Christian, I just sat on here and said it 30 minutes ago. I like some secular artists. There's nothing wrong with that. Now there are certain things, yes, that nowadays I may not listen to or as much. Depends upon what it is. I'm not gonna listen to things that are like totally derogatory. I feel like will contaminate my spirit. But there may be some songs, some hip hop songs that are old and some that may be a little newer that may have a word or two in them. But I'm saying, but what is the content of this song? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to realize this. There are pastors who have foul mouths. Now that's the truth. So if you have a problem with music that has language in it, do you hold as the pastor at that same standard when he or she lets the word slip? I have heard several pastors let a word slip from the pulpit. Okay, let's keep it all the way 100.
Yeah.
And my thing is, again, a word, a suspect, is not going to keep nobody out of heaven and does not define somebody's life. What is that? How's that person living? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're trying to please God, you're trying to do the right thing, you're treating folk how you want to be treated. Like, we can become very spiritually arrogant sometimes to the point that we don't realize that some people are better by nature than some are by religion. And because we have allowed our religiosity to speak for us and to be the end all be all, it's almost like we think that by virtue of you being Christian, by virtue of you being pastor, deacon, trustee, whoever you are, that means that you are somebody. It just means that you are that. Pastor's not who I am. Pastor's what I am. Who I am is a child of God. That's who I am. You know, at the end of the day, God is not viewing me as Pastor G. God is viewing me as his child. I'm trying to make daddy happy every day. If you're doing that very same thing, whoever told you that, kick rocks. Because it's not about trying to make you happy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you asked me earlier about with me, people see me sometimes and have judged me in the past based upon my appearance. I might go to a pastor's conference or a minister's conference. Well, y'all coming in there in 3-piece suits. Now I got some.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yes, he does now.
I'm coming to this conference probably in some jeans, probably in a nice little hip hop blazer. You know what I'm saying? I got a V-neck t-shirt on. I got my cross hanging down. Like, what up, though? Okay, Pastor. We're not in church. We're here to have a good time. I don't want to be in this 3-piece suit. I might come to the conference in an Adidas sweatsuit. I mean, I'm just saying, how do I feel today? But if you judge me based upon that, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? I have been even judged inside of certain churches because of my earrings, because I have suits that are not solid, they have pinstripes, they have designs, some of them. And granted, there are certain suits that I will not preach in. Only because, depending upon where I'm going, I do not want to be a distraction in this pulpit. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I dress how I want to dress. I wear what I want to wear. I am who I am. I speak how I speak. I can go down and talk to Pookie and Nut them like, what up, man? I hear you. It's easy. But I can go to the boardroom at my job in this conference and, yes, sir. Well, last quarter, the numbers were this. It's depending upon where you at. I can adapt to wherever I'm at. You know, if I see Jason on the street, Jay Red, what up, folks? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we do. We die. What's up? The hat, the hug, you know what I'm saying? That's what we do. You know, but be who you are. And I'll say this is very controversial. I'll say this. I have said from the pulpit, do not tell me that a person, because of their sexuality, they're not saved. Being heterosexual don't make me saved. Being homosexual don't make them not saved. The Bible says, many sheep do I have that are not in this pasture. Those must I go and bring also. So the reality is, Christians don't look the same. We don't. We don't. Now, I'm not arguing right and wrong. I'm arguing saved versus unsaved.
Right.
Have a conversation about what is a sin and what's not. That's a different conversation for a different day. What I'm saying is that your behavior or your stronghold or your whatever is not going to keep God from loving you and does not disqualify you from being saved.
Dig it. So that's a good question. So tell me your views on the Black church today compared to, say, 50, 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I know you weren't around 50, 60 years ago, but
I think that the main difference starts with money. And I'm going to tell you why I say that.
Okay.
Love of money is the root of all evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that. Inside of the church in the last 50, 60 years have become so corporate.
Okay.
That it is sickening sometimes. That we talk about money all the time. We make people feel like those who give the most, we value their opinion the most. We make it appear as if you don't meet this upper echelon of society, it does not matter to us what you have to say. And the truth of the matter is, it is not those who are making the $100,000 who are the most committed on your ministries. Those are not the ones who are sharing your ministries, who are teaching your young people, who are teaching Sunday school, who are teaching Bible study. Those are not the ones who are staying after the program is over, setting up tables, emptying out garbage. Those are not the ones. They may be the ones giving the most money, but your stewardship about your time, talent, and your treasure. So my thing is, we talk about money in the church the last 60 years. We become so corporate that some people don't come to church. We can't afford it. How do you feel? I can't afford it. Yes, the tithe is still holy. Even in New Testament, it's still holy. But if you don't have it, you're still welcome to come. But we make folks feel like if you don't have no change, no dollar bills for the offering plate, you can't come up in here.
Here you go.
Brother do like back in the day, when Big Mama ain't had no money, she just tap it.
Look.
My thing is this: you will never have to beg folks for money if you teach people how to be good stewards. If you teach them how to tithe. You know what I'm saying? Teach people proper stewardship, how to manage their entire life, how to manage their time, manage their talents and their gifts, manage their treasure. But 60 years ago, we were doing that. 60 years ago, civil rights movement got itself out of Jim Crow, all that good stuff. A close-knit family, and church was family, because church was designed to be family. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Church is supposed to look just like marriage and family. That's why you call each other brother and sister. But we never think about that. It's really like common knowledge if you think about it, but we don't put the two and two together. We've gotten away from being a family, and church has become a social club. We socialize, we get together, we're going to see what suit the pastor got on, we're going to see what kind of car he drives, so we can talk about him. We're going to see the kind of gators he got on, if they knew, do they have a band in them? We're going to see if Sister Johnson, what she wearing today, do her toenail polish, match her outfit. We just do all kind of stuff. We become even more judgmental on the inside of the church, which is making these millennials not want to come to church. This day and age, there's never been a time in history of the church that it's been this many millennials, young folk, missing. This is the largest demographic in the Black church of missing individuals, and it's all because we have made church spooky and not spiritual. And it turns people off because we have made young people feel like you don't even qualify to come in here. Don't come in here with that t-shirt on. Don't come in here with your pants like that. Now, correct them when they get in here. But Jason liked the fish. Jason, no, you gotta catch a fish before you clean the fish.
Yes, sir.
And we
Yes,
don't
sir.
want to clean it up. We want them to come in here perfect. I say a million times, I serve the kind of God that can take a drug dealer and make him a deacon. Can take a hoodlum, make him the pastor. Take a whore, make her a deaconess. God I serve can do that. But we don't give God a chance to operate because we feel like you should come in here and already have it together. When the people in the Bible were majorly flawed, I talked about language a little while ago. Peter cursed.
Yes, he did.
He was a disciple, one of the 12, but his mouth. He was aggressive. When they came to get Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was a hold up, bro. Chopped the man's ear off with his sword. But then Jesus picked the man's ear up and hit him just like that. Peter was aggressive. His mouth. But we act like God cannot use that. We need people who are persuasive on the inside of the church. We need people who are so aggressive that when little Pookie come in here and he in Bible study cutting the food and can't nobody control him, let me call J Red. J Red know how to handle Pookie because he coaches him. He can calm him down, get in his face, but he's aggressive. But we don't feel like those people cannot be used because we characterize people by their condition. Even in the Bible, sometimes when you hear about the woman with the issue of blood, the blind man, the men who had leprosy, those things they're being characterized by their condition. And the common denominator is in all those situations, those people were not allowed to come inside of the church. That's the same thing we're doing today, is that we're excommunicating people because we're characterizing folks by their condition. Your pants down, so you must be a thug. Well, maybe he is. But if he can't come into the church and get delivered, how can he be set free?
Right.
If the hospital won't heal the sick folk, what are they going to do?
That's true. That's true. That's true.
Hey, that's.
I told you, man. Hey, man.
That's powerful because I heard it broke down like that, but it's so true. You know what I'm saying? You judge them before they get to in the door. They're not gonna come in. I mean,
yeah. Being a hypocrite in the church to me is worse than being, in my opinion, worse than being the sinner, because you're supposed to be somebody that doesn't know Christ is supposed to be able to look at it and see Christ in you. If you're the hypocrite, in my opinion, you worse than the ones that don't know. But I like your word, religiosity. That's
religiosity. Yeah. Right there. No, I agree with that, Jason. Because even in the situation I was just talking about, where somebody called me lukewarm, instead of that, like if he's a little bit further along in his journey or whatever, he should have been like, "Hey, brother, let me talk to you." You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Help me on my journey, if anything. Versus just spitting that out. You know what I'm saying? That goes against everything. Because my father was a pastor. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
Growing up, I was a preacher's kid. But you know what I'm saying, my faith got shaky because I lost him to drugs and stuff like that. So I mean, I do know the word. I know the Bible, and I'm on this journey trying to make it right. But I feel like, like regardless, like we need to be helping each other out here. It's too many judgment. It's everybody judging everybody, and it's separating people. It's like you said, it's pushing people away from the Black church. No young people. You know what I'm saying? We got to come together. We got to stop judging each other. We got to stop treating each other the way it's getting bad. It's getting bad. You know what I'm saying? So do you see yourself doing anything to remedy this problem?
In my church, I don't always come to church, to the pulpit, even now in the pandemic, with a suit on. Like today, I preached in a button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up and some jeans and some loafers. Because my thing is, especially right now, come as you are. You know what I'm saying? So to remedy this problem, I try to make myself as relatable as possible. I don't mind being the example and using my life to make a point. I don't mind I'll in the middle of a sermon, a conversation or anything, I'll quote a Bible verse, I'll quote a song verse. You know, I might quote Biggie, I might quote Tupac, I might quote Mary J. Blige. But because I have people in my church who are also 60 and 70 and 80, I'll quote Sam Cooke. I'll quote James Brown to make a point and to get them to realize what I'm trying to say. If I can grab your attention,
right,
then you will listen to whatever I have to say, because there is an entertainment value to church. If you can entertain and enlighten, you have their full attention. Now, I'm not saying put on a show, but I'm saying don't make this boring. You know what I'm saying? Theology that has no psychological impact will never change anybody's life. So my job is to make my conversation and to make these sermonic expositions relatable. I have to know not just what they were saying then, but what does it say today? So my thing is, let me make this relatable to your experience. Let me make Jesus relevant to your experience today. Let me say from the pulpit on camera that's recorded that a homosexual can be saved also. Let me say from the pulpit on tape where it's proven what I just said, that we have no business judging anybody because they sin different than you sin. I say these things and it helps people have a different perspective. You know, like you talked about, you know, bringing, helping other people to live a different way or to see the error in their way, if that's the point. You know, Mark 2 talks about a paralyzed man. It's actually in 3 different gospels, but in Mark 2, it talks about a paralyzed man that couldn't get himself to Jesus, and how he had 4 friends who picked him up on his bed and took him to where Jesus was preaching. But when they got there, they couldn't get into the church because the crowd was so big. Well, my point is this. Sometimes the reason folk can't get in the church because the church folk. The church folk saw this man coming on his bed. You would think they would move out of the way. They didn't. They saw them, looked at them, and turned back around. That's what we're doing in the church. And I'm not afraid to say it, is that you're keeping those who need to be in here out because you won't scoot over. You won't move over. So these individuals, some of them turn away, but there's some, like these men in the text, who are creative. They'll climb the roof and cut a hole in the roof and lower that man in so they can be seen by Jesus. But we call those folks troublemakers. No, they're just going against the grain. They're doing what you are afraid to do. They're calling out wrong that you are afraid to call out because you don't want to be the one that says, I have a different opinion than the pastor. Well, if you can't sometimes just be with the pastor, why are you here? Why are you on the ministry? Why are you in leadership? And nobody always right. I need me a deacon or two to sometimes say, the pastor, I don't quite see it that way. Can you hear me out? Sure. And I have to be open enough in the deacon meeting, in a board meeting with my official board, to listen to somebody else's perspective, because it may be more valid than mine. I don't have a degree in business. So if you're making a business point, I might need to listen to what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? God called me to preach, not to do business. So if somebody else specializes, you know, why I'm gonna try to, you know, Jason specializes in insurance. I'm not about to sit here and run down, I got a friend.
Call me up.
You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, we have to be, again, self-aware. We have to not be afraid to call the church out for certain things. We have to speak truth to power. We have to not be afraid to go against the grain. Yeah, we don't want to be lukewarm, but lukewarm ain't always what we think, because none of us are perfect. We all have some stuff in us that's still in us, even me, even everybody. You know what I'm saying? And if we're not careful, put in the right situation at the wrong time, you're gonna fall. I don't care who you are. you're going to fall. If King David failed and he was a man after God's own heart, then what makes you think that you won't be at a point of saying like King David, Lord, give me a clean heart and renew a right spirit in me. I done screwed up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey man, I told you at the beginning of the show, man, this guy was my dude, man. This guy, to me, like this is the guy that you want to have around the young people. Like, I'll be honest with you, my kids love Hatcher. When I would come to church, man, like my daughter would run and hug on him, my son would dap him up. Like, as a dad, I'm one of these selfish dads. I want all my kids' love and affection. But when I got to share them, hey man, I ain't mad at all. Like, I got the chance to coach my son early on, but when he got to age up, I was like, man, go ahead. I would sit there and watch him. Yeah. Like, I watched Hatcher coach him and his friends, and man, when he says like those are his guys, and he like those are his guys, like, man, you don't like he's got that bear mentality, and like, hey, don't talk to my guys that way. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be yeah. Good dude, man. Great man. Hey man, and look, has some like you put a bunch of posts on Facebook about some relationships. Man, he always has a relationship question, comment on, and man, hey, look, if you want to go have if you see some great commentary, go check them posts out, man. yeah, man. He'll have you scratching your head like, man, where would you come with this one from?
I'm gonna have to check it out, man. I'm gonna have to check it out. This was amazing, man. This was amazing. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, helping me, enlightening me on my situation, helping me with that. But I know you dropped a lot on the viewers, man, and just your mindset, your perspective on things, super different, but I think it's needed in this time of change. You know what I'm saying? And in this time of transition for the country, everybody, it's just so much. It's just so different now. You know what I'm saying? So we need someone like you leading the charge into this new school, man, because I definitely think you're making some change, and you're gonna do some great things in the future. It's amazing having you on the show today.
Thank you. Anytime, man. Anytime.
Hey man, don't say anytime, brother, because we'll be calling you back to come back again and drop another word on us.
Hey, yes, we will. I have done in this pandemic at least one podcast every week.
Get out of here.
Because I'm relationship big on Facebook and Instagram and things of that nature, and there are a lot of groups I'm a part of that ask me I got a podcast, or sure, I'll come on, no problem. I did a real good one with 6 other guys about 3 weeks ago. I have to share that on my page. But prior to the pandemic, I was throwing events around the Triangle, bringing people together to discuss stuff, relationships, and me and a friend of mine, my friend Kedron, was doing a man's perspective. Right, I guess it was a podcast really on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
But it got kind of big, and we may go back to it. I'm definitely going to be starting one in the coming weeks. It's already in the works.
Okay.
So pray for me on that.
Hey man, look, you got to have us on, man. I love to come
Absolutely.
On man, come on, man. Come on. Hey man, Mychal, we got another one, man.
And we got you know what I'm saying? We got 2 so far.
We got 2 so far, man.
Yeah, and you know what, man? People need to see this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like black brothers, especially black brothers, talking and conversing and well-spoken, and we're not sitting here fussing and fighting. We are speaking about something of substance. I think it gives hope to other black men, but also so women understand, men ain't hard to find. No. They're not. Sometimes your vision is blurred.
You got bad glasses.
I like that.
Yeah, you got bad. Your glasses are bad. You look at it in the wrong perspective.
Come on.
Yeah. And that's a good point, man. Because so like I asked you about what does a Christian look like. So and like I said, like I don't like to wear a tie. I don't and you said you preached today in a button up and some loafers, right? So to me, I think we have been trained to think that, hey, this is what a Christian does. This is what a Christian doesn't do. This is what a good man will look like. This is what I'm like, not today. Like in this day and age, you have to be an idealist and a traditionalist in some sense. You've got to have some traditions that you want to keep and hold on to from the good old, from your upbringing. But at the end of the day, you got to come with some new ideas that bring people to the table so that you can have that discussion, so that you can talk about creating generational wealth, so you can talk about having a relationship, so you can build a relationship from a friend foundation first to lovers. Because I got that one from Hatcher. He said, I got to be friends with you first before we can go to being lovers. Because if I can't be your friend first, then when the loving stops, there's nothing left.
Hello.
I want you to think I wasn't listening, Hatcher. I was listening first, man. Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the one line.
Yeah.
Fellowship, friendship, relationship, courtship. If it ain't the right one, abandonship.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, the 5 ships. I'm digging that. I'm digging that, man. You gotta that's your quote, man. We gotta patent that for you. That's good. Like
that's it right there.
Yes, sir.
That's it.
Sir. Well, it's been an amazing show. Learned a lot from you, man. I appreciate your words. But before we go, we ask everybody to drop a little word of encouragement, word of inspiration to our viewers, just to give them a little something to help them out on their journey. And also, if you want to drop the name of your church and your ministry, and let people know how they can reach out to you, and possibly come join your church and your congregation, it'd be much appreciated.
Sure. Let me hit the men first. Gentlemen, I would say this to you all, especially men of color, never let society make you think less of yourself than you really are. Don't believe the hype about there being more Black men in jail than college. That's not true. What they don't tell you is, when they do that statistic, they're talking about all the Black men in jail, and they are comparing them to the men between 18 and 25 years old who are in college. That can never be a fast statistic. And they want us to believe the worst about ourselves so that our women will believe the worst about us. So my thing is, define yourself for yourself, or you will get caught up in somebody else's idea of who you are, and that's not who you are. I want to say this to ladies. I know that many of you have been heartbroken, and you guys tend to be a little bit more sensitive about relationships than men are. We've been quoting the Bible a lot. I want to quote a book from an R&B singer, Tamia, back in the day. She had a song that says, "A stranger in my house." It took a while to figure out. There's no way you can be who you say you are. You gotta be somebody else, because he wouldn't touch me like that and treat me like you do. She went on to say that have I changed so drastically and you have remained the same? My point is this: don't lose yourself trying to find love, because if you don't know who you are, you'll wake up one day and you'll be a stranger in the house that is your tabernacle, and you will not know who you are, and you will not be able to encounter the one that God has for you, because you don't know how to communicate your needs. Therefore, you will define yourself by this person, and you'll get lost in trying to find love. To everybody, I say this: live your life, let God be the center of your joy, and always remember that what you are going to is bigger than what you're going through. My church is New Grassy Creek Baptist Church. We're in Oxford, North Carolina. Right now, we are having service outside underneath our tents every Sunday, 11 a.m. We'll be glad to have you as our guest. I love you guys.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I get caught up, man. I be calling him by his first name. I gotta start calling you Pastor Hatch. I keep forgetting, man. I gotta put the title on, man. Pastor Hatch. Yeah.
And make sure you let me know when that podcast drops, because I definitely want to tune in, man. You got powerful words, man. I definitely want to tune into that. Jason, you got anything else for us before I take us out?
Man, that's it. That's all I got, man. I really appreciate the time Pastor had to coming on, hanging out with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Coming today, man. Man, it feels like, man, every day hanging out with you, man. I learned something new. So, man, I just appreciate you taking your time out, coming on, and blessing the stage with your presence.
All love, baby. Anytime.
Absolutely, man. It was a blessing to have you on the show today. It was amazing. Look forward to, tapping in, maybe hopping on your podcast in the future, but tuning into it definitely. Well, if this is your first time tuning in and you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and continue to follow us on this journey. If you've been rocking with us, please don't stop. Continue to show love, like, subscribe, share, so we can spread the word about this thing. We are Dreams to Reality Incorporated, a nonprofit organization geared toward uplifting, inspiring, and empowering communities all over the world. Thank you for joining me, Mychal Davis, and my co-host, Mr. Jason Redmond, and our amazing, amazing guest, Mr. DeVon Hatchard, pastor at Oxford, North Carolina. Please check him out. Follow his ministry. This is a brother that's doing powerful things. I just want to thank everybody once again for joining us today on the I Am the Change podcast. And remember, our goal is not to be better than anybody, but together we can achieve better for everybody. Thank you and have a good night. Peace.